Hey guys, welcome back to Maelstrom Gaming Studios. I'm Craig.
And I'm Connor.
And today we're going to go over an old video we did. We're going to touch on 1,000 point list ideas. I haven't really done this with the new codex and the way everything is kind of shaken out after some nerfs to the Tyranids and things like that. So we're going to go back to this, come up with 3 1,000 point list ideas, maybe a competitive one, a balanced one, a fluffy one, and just kind of talk about the nature of 1,000 point games because they are a lot different than your standard 2,000 point games. So if that sounds good, do like and subscribe to stay up to date on all of our content here at Maelstrom Gaming Studios. And if you want to help support us just a little more, do consider becoming a member or checking out our Etsy shop in the links down below. Now, with all that out of the way, let's dive into today's video. So like we said, we're going to go over kind of the nature of 1,000 point games and do some 1,000 point list creation for the Tyranids specifically. 1,000 point games are much different than 2,000. So some things to consider is the map layout. Well, yes, the boards are generally the same, just scaled down. Because they're scaled down, you have a lot different layouts for the maps. Pre-game communication is really important with your opponent, especially if you're not just playing your buddy and you're going to the shop. At 1,000 points, it's really easy to kind of skew your army and totally throw a game off. So you got to make sure you're going to your opponent saying, hey, this is a beginner, a simple 1,000 point game, nothing too competitive. Or if you're going competitive, then do that. Or just make sure you have that communication because otherwise it can lead to a very quick and painful game for one opponent.
45-minute game.
Yes, yeah. At least, or at most.
Yeah.
And then there are some effective strategies at 1,000 points. Certain tactics do pay off a lot better than others at a smaller table size. Then for the Tyranids, we'll go over some key units you want to consider bringing. Again, you can play whatever you want. This is 40k, do what you want. But there are some key units if you want to have a better time, I think, in your 1,000 point games. And then, like I said, 3 Tyranid lists. We've got a balanced one. It may not be the most competitive, but it'll compete in just about every game. We will go for a more competitive one and then just a more fun, casual one. Could be good, could not, but I think it'll be good. So let's start with things to consider when it comes to the map layout and stuff.
Yeah, so I almost never play. It's been a long time for me to play 1,000 points, so this is good for me to know as well. Key mission related information. Like Craig said, the board is much smaller. It's half size, essentially.
It is, yeah.
Right? So you cut the main board, the regular board in half. No Man's Land is only 18 inches for every mission?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, there's less ground to cover for charges. Almost all of them besides one are hold 1, hold 2, hold more for primary. And maxing out secondaries, yeah, it's just more low scoring in general.
Much more low scoring. So you have to think about when you're taking your secondaries, instead of 40k, it's like, oh, can I get, 10 to 15? I think of it more as, can I get 5 to 10?
5 to 10, okay.
Is it? Unless, you got some specific skewed scenario.
But maybe sisters or Necrons.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, definitely consider that when making your 1,000 point list. I'll talk on the pregame communication just a little bit more. Talk with your opponent, like I said, because you don't want to get into a, hey, I thought this was a casual game versus, hey, I thought this was competitive. If you want to see a great example of not fully understanding the capability of 1,000 point games, go on the channel and look up the Genestealer Cult versus Eldar 1,000 point game.
Right.
And it wasn't necessarily bad communication.
I think it was you trying to give Sam a nice opportunity.
It was not being aware of what happens at a 1,000 point game as much as I thought. So
yeah,
that was quite a game.
I don't think Sam realized that was going to happen.
No, none of us realized it was going to be like that.
Yeah.
But something to consider. I like 1,000 point games for more casual learning style. It's like you're working your way to 2,000, just play 1,000 for fun. Don't bring the hammer every time. Just having a good time, getting a quicker game out.
Get a feel for some units.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I think of 1,000 point games. But talk with your opponent before you get into a matchup.
Right.
And then some key strategies for incursion games. There's one main thing, and this is more of a theme of 9th edition, is that melee is better than shooting in the way 9th edition goes. But with No Man's Land, being 18 inches all the time. Getting fast melee is so much better at 1,000 points than it is at 2,000 points.
Sure.
So small board, no man's land. Just think of that that speed in that combat is something you might want to tailor into a bit. It used to be before demons got in your codex. My 1,000-point Slanesh Demons army never lost a 1,000-point game with it in the 10 or 12 I've played, just because the speed, the keeper see your entire army turn 1 charges.
Yeah.
And then you can keep 1 unit to sit on a back objective and score you points, whatever. So
I guess the 1,000 points of Slanesh can still do that as well.
They can't advance and charge anymore, but they're still fast.
Their movement's a little more
maybe
now too.
even at 1,000 points they can do it. Yeah. So just things to consider. And then another option is having 1 really big durable threat. Could be, now not necessarily saying bringing a Titan or bringing a giant 2 Imperial Knights or something. That could throw you off, but
you're thinking more like a Redemptor Dread or something?
Put some threat where you can put a lot of buffs on. Like your Paladins, if you have a block of, now at 1,000 points, you probably don't want to do 10, but if you bring like 5, 7 of them and you can stack all those buffs on, it's a lot of all your eggs in one basket, but 1,000 points, something like that can pay off a lot because most armies don't have the shooting to deal with them.
And it's harder to just ignore them on a tiny little board.
On a tiny
like
board,
that.
you can't just ignore the threats like that. So Terminators, big blocks of Terminators do well at 1,000-point games as well because there's not much board to cover.
Yeah.
All right, so now we got that little background out of the way. Now let's dive into the Tyranids more specifically here.
Yeah, so these are things Craig thinks are key units at 1K.
Yeah.
Broodlord. You always talk about a Broodlord, but I feel like sometimes they don't get the usage that
they don't get as much usage.
Yeah.
They're starting to creep up a little bit in some lists. They're outshined at larger games by their units, but at a smaller game, a Broodlord is a good option.
Definitely. Warriors, you know them, you love them, they're really good. Raveners, probably similar to the Slanesh thing we just talked about. That's a turn 1 threat. Hive Tyrants, definitely Hive Tyrants. Tervigon, stuff that's toughness 8 in a 1K game.
That 1 big durable threat there.
It's tough for a lot of stuff to damage. And then Carnifex variants, Carnify, if you will. Probably any of them. I think
Carnifex are great because you're not going to have the points to tailor into too many big monsters, but bringing 2-3 Carnifex is a lot of stuff you have to deal with.
Perfect for killing your opponent's big threat as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some supporting units, Zoanthropes, Neurothropes. I mean, you guys watch us, you see how good they are in all of our battle reports. Gaunt variants, because smaller game.
Something to grab an objective.
Yeah, you need some troops. Parasite of Mortrex, really good for your fast threats. Keep Synapse on them. And a Moloch. Oh, I always love the Molochs.
The Molochs are good at 1,000 points because your opponent can't, it's a smaller board.
Yeah.
So they can't hide or spread out as much.
How many points are they?
125.
That's pretty good. I think it's a pretty good deal for how much you pay for
them.
At
1,000 points it is.
Yeah. And then Pyrovores, because they're really good now.
They're really good. You just learned about them.
Man, they're scary.
Yeah. So great to have. They got the long range. You don't have to worry about them being slow at 1,000 points. So
especially against like Space Marines.
Yeah. So those are the units. Now let's go into some of the lists. So the first one, this is actually for a channel member. He requested, help creating a 1,000 point list. So Bucky, this is your list. Now you also asked me to scale it down to 500s for starting, but here's the full 1,000 points. It is a balanced Leviathan. So you got a Neurothrope and a Broodlord. You've got your support psychic, gives out your key powers, and you got your Broodlord for your combat.
A threat.
The ability to do a psychic action, because the Broodlord psychic power is, it's kind of a toss-up, whatever it does, but it's perfect for doing a psychic action because it can forward deploy. So it can start in range of an opponent's character or the center potentially.
Yeah.
Great there. You got some Termagants and some Hormagaunts just for holding objectives. 1 big block of warriors.
In Leviathan. Man.
I know I rag on Leviathan warriors being, they're so good. Do something else. But you want to have some staying
Yeah.
power. This is that durable unit that your opponent is going to have to deal with.
I mean,
So
the reason we rag on them is because
they're so good.
Yeah.
So 8 of those guys with adrenal glands, dual bone swords, death spitters, and 2 venom cannons.
Cool.
You got 3 zoanthropes to delete your opponent's durable units and give off that nice invuln save. And then finally a Tyranno effect to support the back. 4-up invuln on it all the time with thermic symbiosis. Now you can use either the rupture cannon or the acid spray. They are the same point cost. I personally like the acid spray better, but I understand in Leviathan you do get that free reroll to hit, so the rupture cannon does look a little more attractive in a Leviathan list.
I feel like at 1K though.
But at
the spray is
1K,
even better than at 2K,
Yes.
and it's already good at 2K.
yeah. So at 1, yes, you have no big anti-tank threat besides your. Well, that's not a lie because your warriors can do
the
it in melee. Your zoanthropes can do it.
You kind of do.
You can. So
It is a very balanced list. Yeah.
I do like it, and actually, members, we will be using this one on the channel sometime in the future here. So stay tuned to that one.
Cool.
List 2, I guess I'll let you go over this one.
Yeah.
This is a take on my
Aggressive
flavor.
Kraken. So this is maybe a shrunk down version of your usual competitive list.
Yep.
So we've got a Flyrant with, don't tell me, is that the relic? No, the Reaper of Obliterax
Yep.
and Adrenal Glands.
Yep.
225 points. It's a pretty good deal.
Pretty good.
Neurothrope because he's the ultimate support HQ.
Yep.
A group of 5 warriors with Dermic Symbiosis.
Death spitters
Oh, Death Spitters.
and the dual bone swords.
Dual Bone Swords and Adrenal Glands.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's your troop. Then we got 2 Pyrovores. Cool.
Supporting up the midfield.
Yeah. 3 Zoanthropes and 2 units of 4 Raveners. Nice and simple.
Very simple, very
Yeah.
quick there. You're going to have the Pyrovores kind of sitting on that mid to back
middle.
objective. The Warriors will be doing the same.
Mm-hmm.
Raveners are going to just go one after another into your opponent and
So
then
it's, yeah, Flyrant and Raveners.
fight going up the middle.
Yeah.
They alone will probably mess with your opponent enough to the
Yeah.
point where they're going to have a hard time fighting back
At least for 2 turns.
for
probably.
a while.
Yeah.
And then at that point, you've got to deal with the Warriors and the Zoanthropes and the Pyrovores dealing their stuff
Yeah.
too. So it's going to be quick, it's going to be aggressive, but I think at 1,000 points, that plays very well into the style of Incursion games.
Yeah, you send that Flyrant into the biggest, scariest thing, and the Raveners deal with everything else.
Yep. So then we have our final one. This is a fun behemoth monster
Oh,
mash list. So you
cool.
can do monster mash at 1,000 points without it being kind of messy. So the reason it's behemoth is for that nice +1 strength, but more importantly, the obsec monster trait as their adaptive one.
Yeah.
So you got a Neurothrope. Again, Neurothrope is one of the only auto-include models, but it's there.
Yeah.
100 points, support. Then you have a Turvagon with Toxin Sacs, the Adrenal Glands, and the Maw Claws, because that's very fun.
Yeah.
She's durable enough at 1,000 points where
Oh,
you
yeah.
shouldn't have to worry about her. Now, we don't have any gaunts for her to support, but she can still spawn at least a unit of 10 for objective purposes.
Yeah.
3 warriors with a Venom Cannon because you have the points. They're a little slower without Adrenal Glands, but they're still strength 8 because of Behemoth. And then we have 3 Zoanthropes to give all of your monsters an invuln save once per game. And smiting is very good.
Yes.
We then have that Moloch we mentioned, being able to pop this up potentially on your opponent's objective, being obsec and stealing that from them.
Oof.
And then, dealing damage, dealing out mortal wounds, whatever it can. We had the points. I slapped Toxin Sacs on it because I think a Moloch is one of the few models Toxin Sacs is worth it because
It's
they...
strength 6 only?
No, they are strength 7, but they
Oh.
have 16 attacks. So you're bound to get a couple 6s in there.
Is it 16 on their data sheet?
Or maybe it's 14.
It says that on their data sheet? though?
Yes.
It's so weird.
They're only damage 1
Yeah.
things, but yes.
So crazy.
It is synaptically enhanced, so that way if you do pop it up in your opponent's backline without any synapse creatures behind, it can still take advantage of the synaptic imperatives. So you can pop it up turn 2, give it a 4-up invuln save, and say, try me.
Deal with it.
And then to support the rest of the army moving forward, you have 2 Carnifexes with Scything Talons, Heavy Venom Cannons, Enhanced Senses, Adrenal Glands, and Chitin Thorns. That sounds like a lot.
I was wondering why it was 290 for 2. Yeah.
It's a lot, but they do put in a good amount of work. If you want to try and change points around, you can maybe try and make one of them have a 4-up invuln, but I don't think the points are there to do it. The Scything Talents and Heavy Venom Cannon Enhanced Senses just allows them to be support, kill your opponent's vehicles, or their more heavy hitting range stuff. Well, I should say the Heavy Venom Cannon Enhanced Senses. The Scything Talons, the Adrenal Glands, the Chitin Thorns allow this thing to get up to strength, what are we at? 6, 7, 8 on the charge with Behemoth.
Nice.
At AP -4. So they counteract the Armor of Contempt there. So then, you know, most things will be getting 6-up saves against you, if that.
Yeah.
So they can hit hard in combat and hit hard in shooting. They're obsec, so they can start the first turn or 2.
So that's Behemoth's trait is monsters are just obsec.
So Behemoth, Gorgon, and Jormungandr can take an adaptive trait. And that one can make monsters obsec. The Carnifexes will only count as 1 model.
Yeah.
But the Turvagon and the Zoanthropes, or Turvagon and the Moloch will count as 5. So that's nice.
Yeah.
I haven't played this list, but I think it'll do pretty well. And it will be at least fun if you're someone who wants to throw around a little bit of Monster Mash in your army.
Yeah, it's been a while since you've gotten to do that.
It has been. I haven't done true Monster Mash in a long time, so maybe I'll do that sometime here.
Cool.
But that's it. Those are the 3 lists, 1,000 points. If you do try these out, let us know down in the comments how they work for you. Are there any tweaks you would do to some of them? Again, this is not set in stone. These are the best lists ever, but I think it's a great starting point for especially new players to kind of work towards something if they just want to have fun with 1,000 points. So, and then also let us know in the comments, do you guys play 1,000 points more than just you know, I'm learning the game type of, or do you do 1,000-point tournaments? Do you have a lot of those? We don't in the area. It's every once in a while there's a 1,000-pointer. And when those did pop up is when I brought my Slanesh demons out to play.
Right.
But other than that, 1,000 points just aren't really common for us here. So
no, I can't. Like I said, I can't remember the last time I did it.
Yeah. So let us know in the comments. Other than that, thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you next time here at Maelstrom Gaming Studios.
Thanks, you guys.